I am almost as old as her. So she's older than me. So the placement of these words is very important. Hi there, welcome back. This is Manu, your English coach. In this series on our neighborhood, we are looking at comparatives. And over the past two videos, we looked at the rules of comparisons, two specific ways of stating comparisons, two specific uses of comparisons, and a lot of examples as well. In this video, we're going to try to answer the question, how much, the extent of change or difference. If you say, he's taller than her, how taller? This taller? That taller? How taller? We got the specific chunks for that. Now these differences could be big, they could be small, or there could be absolutely no difference at all. So let's start with those big differences. You could use words like much, so much, a lot, far, even, etc. Let's look at a few examples. He is much taller than her. So he's much taller than her. This book is a lot more interesting than the earlier one. This teacher is so much more intelligent than the old one. So much more. I was even hungrier when I went to the restaurant. Even hungrier. Oh, huge. That dog is far fiercer than our dog. Far fiercer. So you see, far, even, etc. These are the words that describe the words that describe the noun. See? So they are called adverbs. They describe the adjectives, the words that describe nouns. One more. You can use nowhere near with as blank as to compare. So, our dog is nowhere near as fierce as their dog. See, this dish is nowhere near as delicious as the one that I made. Nowhere near as delicious as. So notice the voice quality as well. This dish is nowhere near as delicious as the one that I made. Apart from this, we can also use words like very, totally, completely, really, etc. with different from. Now in these cases, we are saying you cannot compare. So they are twins, but they are very different from each other. Means you can't compare. Your car is totally different from mine. Yours is a racing car, mine's a passenger car. Totally different, can't compare. It's really different from this. Right, now let's look at the small differences. So you can use words like slightly, a little, a bit, a little bit, somewhat, not much. So this book is slightly more interesting than that. My house is a little less spacious than yours. Your house is not much different from my neighbor's house. Your car is somewhat similar to my brother's car. See, somewhat similar. It's a bit of a difference. It's so small that I wouldn't bother. The differences are so small. Apart from this, with as, we can use certain words like almost, nearly, not quite, roughly, more or less, about. So you can say like, that park is more or less as beautiful as our neighborhood park. More or less. Quality-wise, Hitachi is more or less the same as Lloyd's. More or less. She's almost as old as I am. Almost as old means there could be a little difference between us in age. Almost as old. It means I'm actually older than her, but very slightly so. If I say I'm almost as old as her, it means she is here. I'm almost as old as her. Not quite as old as her. See, there is a slight difference, and I'm here because I am almost as old as her. So she's older than me. So the placement of these words is very important. With similar to, we can use words like very, really. It means very similar to. His marks are very similar to his classmates' marks. Were they sitting together at the exams? Very similar to. They are really similar to. Your program is really similar to the one already developed last year by my son. Really similar to. There could be a difference, but it's like so small that you can't see it. Now, if there is no difference, you can use words like exactly the same as or just as. So I can say like, my hometown looks exactly the same as it did 20 years ago. Exactly the same, no difference. The smartphones are just as expensive as the desktop computers these days. Just as expensive. So look at these chunks. These are the ones that you're going to use for comparatives, especially when you're talking about the extent, the degree of difference or change. Now let's see how these chunks are used in our everyday life. Okay, and we're going to use the same example as we did in the part 2. Last week, my wife and I went to see a movie. Generally, we love watching movies and discussing the story over dinner at our favorite restaurant. The hall was much cooler than the last time. We reached the hall a little earlier than usual because the traffic was a lot lighter than expected. The seats were quite comfortable, although I wanted to sit a bit closer to the door. Nevertheless, we enjoyed the movie. One thing I loved was the food, which was slightly less expensive than at other halls. But sadly, they tasted so much worse. So we decided to have something a little bit more delicious for dinner. On our way home, we started arguing about the climax. My wife was angry that the protagonist was far worse than the antagonist, so he should have been arrested. Further, he wasn't as handsome as she thought he would be. I, however, didn't argue. But we both agreed that the heroine's sister was a lot more beautiful. Suddenly we realized that we were running out of petrol. So we had to go a little further away from our usual route, and we also stopped by to get some grocery and reached home somewhat later than normal. Overall, it was a great evening. I love going to the movies with my wife just as much as I did when we first met. She is pure magic. So that's it. What I want you to do is practice these chunks so that you get them to yourself, you own them, and then you start using them regularly in your everyday conversations. But practice is what you have to do. Stop this video, pause this video whenever you come to a chunk, write it down, repeat it till you get it here, then move forward. Otherwise, watch this video over and over again till you get these chunks right. Thank you for watching this video, liking it and subscribing to our channel. We'll see you in the next video. Until then.